let's get this party started, dude. I saw I saw that apparently Kanye West was invited onto the Tim Pool's podcast, and he very quickly leaves the podcast. I think Nick Fuentes is part of this too. I don't care about Nick Fuentes. Frankly, he should get as little attention as possible. He has nothing of particular value to say. So let's get this started. Or what we could do is just watch the intro a little bit. Why has this happened for so long? Well, there we go.
You were.
All right.
I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. You were with your families or loved ones, or at least relaxed and enjoyed yourself. Over the past week, there was a...
Yeah, I was with my families. It was okay. I fell asleep on the couch. That's it.
A particularly big news story that's resulted in a continued news cycle, which is now going on for over a week, which is in many ways unheard of. But right now, because Donald Trump went to dinner with Ye and Nick Fuentes, among others, he is now being denounced by Mike Pence, several Republican senators, and
good for them.
For whatever reason, this story, for many reasons I suppose people have made, this story has persisted till today. And we are able to actually sit down with several of the individuals involved in that story.
Well, first of all, I don't think that... Okay, so it's like Trump, Fuentes, and Kanye West sitting in a tree. Kiss. I don't know. Whatever. I should have just committed to finishing it. Anyway, when it comes to Nick Fuentes, I understand Kanye. I think Kanye's a dude going through a lot. I think that's pretty charitable. After his conversation with Lex, I can be a little more forgiving for Kanye. I can understand that, he's not... I can understand where Kanye is coming from, even if I think that a lot of his rhetoric is very dangerous. When it comes to Nick Fuentes is a bad person. I don't know how else to say this. He is, and this isn't like an exaggeration. You guys know that I don't just LOL on the virtue signal. But bro, listening to him talk, the things that he's said about people, just anybody but white people is horrible. He's a piece of shit. He once said and still maintains that sleeping with a black person is just as degenerate as sleeping with a dog. I don't know. There's there's conservative and then there's Nick Fuentes. And it's not funny and based. It's just disgusting. We're not at the point where we're just having edgy, funny little tiki jokes anymore. We're talking about private conversations that he's really upset that were leaked because it makes him look the way he is, which is incredibly racist. This isn't some dude accidentally singing the N-word in a Childish Gambino song. This is a guy who actually thinks of people of color as less than. He thinks that they're just genetically inferior. He thinks that the reason that they're that they tend to underperform in society is because they're just biologically inferior. He doesn't give a shit about systemic racism or any of these conversations about how the past can have a profoundly negative impact on the success of individuals. He's a bad person, and you should be denounced if you associate with him. I think that there's only so we can... I know it sounds crazy. We can only be so tolerant. I think it's fine to be tolerant to conservative views and even some dirty progressive views. But we get to a point where there has to be a certain level of intolerance. And that is where I draw the line. It's actually thinking of people as just inferior. Thinking that fucking a black person is the same as fucking a dog. There's no rationalizing it. So good that they denounced him. So,
notably, Ye, Nick Fuentes, and Malinopolis, of course, who made the dinner happen. It's my understanding. Or at least got the...
I had the dinner invite before I met Milo.
Okay, my bad. There you go. So we're gonna jump right into this.
I just overcomplicated it.
Absolutely. So we're gonna start with that. There's a lot we want to talk about, and you know what, man? This is a very big story. A lot of people have questions about, what were Trump's intentions, why were certain people invited, and Trump, of course, has issued statements. So a lot of people want to know where he stands, and more importantly, what happened there and why. And there's also the questions about what Ye 24 means, and I'll keep that a little bit vague so that they can answer to that. And
just want to be explicitly clear. I don't know too much about Milo. I know people are very strongly opinionated against him, but I'm just not going to speak about the specifics about him because I don't know them. To be clear,
speak more to that, and then of course we're going to get into a lot of different issues.
I think the only thing I saw was one thing a while ago that was transphobic, but I don't remember the specifics of it, so I'm just letting people know.
However, head over to timcast.com and become a member. We're going to have a members-only uncensored show, which will probably get a bit more in-depth on a lot of other issues. That I'll just leave it at that. Timcast.com, become a member, support our work, and we'll talk about more there. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us, as I mentioned, we have Ye himself. Would you like to introduce yourself, good sir?
You did it.
There you go. I think everybody knows who you are. And which of you gentlemen would like to introduce yourself?
Nicholas, please.
Hi, yeah, I'm
Jesus.
Nick Fuentes. First time here on the Timcast. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'll say one thing. You know, I know that I think maybe I don't know. I think that Destiny and then Nick Fuentes had a falling out. That's my understanding. Somebody had mentioned that. I think that it's fine for someone like Destiny to like talk to Nick Fuentes and try to potentially de-radicalize his audience, especially somebody who's equipped to speak about it. Right? You know, if you just go in blind talking about Nick Fuentes, he could potentially be able to steamroll you and make it. He does the nice racist thing. You know, he's like, I'm not a bad guy. It comes off to me as he says what he feels like he can get away with. But if we had a social sphere that was more accepting of racism, he would be exponentially more racist. But the problem I had with like Destiny and Nick Fuentes' interaction was that it became friendly, and it's like, you know. How? I don't understand. I just feel like there's a certain number of people. I don't know, man. It's just like this is how is this somebody that you're friends with, that you could ever be friends with? That bothered me for a while. Destiny has an interesting track record of making friends. He just doesn't seem to be able to do it. I don't know.
What do you do?
Oh, I'm a live streamer. I do a show called America First on Cozy.tv.
All right. And of course, Milo, you were here a couple weeks ago.
Yes, I'm your best ever guest.
So we've been told that the episode with you was one of the best podcasts ever. People really enjoyed hearing you speak.
I think that's accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Thanks for coming back.
Thanks. I was wondering how I was going to make it even more extraordinary the second time I visited. I think I might have pulled it off.
Luke's here.
Total Sausage Fest tonight. Welcome. My name is Luke Radowski of wearechange.org. Today I'm wearing my Epstein Didn't Epstein Himself t-shirt, which you could get on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And I think we should be using that word a little bit more, just like, you know, this YouTube channel didn't Epstein itself. And if this YouTube channel is Epsteined, we will be streaming on Twitter. So yeah, I started a t-shirt company after YouTube demonetized me. So thebestpoliticalshirts.com, because you guys buy it. That's why I'm here. Thank you so much for having me.
And of course, Serge.
And I am Serge.com. Pleasure, guys.
All right. And I'll just pull up this story from The Hill, which is from earlier today at 5 p.m. Pence says Trump should apologize. It's wrong to give anti-Semite a seat at the table.
I agree.
This, of course, is related to a dinner that happened, and I was wrong a little on the details. So a dinner happened. Nick, you were there. Yay, you were there. I just want to start off by, how did this dinner come to happen, and what happened?
I was talking to Trump for about a month. We had scheduled the dinner in October, and then he announced for president. He pushed the dinner back to November. And I've been pulling together a campaign. And after I put up the DEF CON tweet, a bunch of people that have been...
Wait, hold on. Who is Mike Pence referring to when he says anti-Semite? I can understand why you may not want to talk to Kanye. Frankly, like, I'm not particularly thrilled with like Kanye's shit, but I don't think that he's a fucking lost cause. I think he's a dude that's struggling. I don't think that, you know what I mean? Like, he's very different. He's not methodical. I don't think that he's intentioned. I don't think that he's like, I want to bring... I think that Kanye has a frustration with a lot of people who happen to be Jewish, and he's being ignorant in the way that he expresses that frustration, and he's not separating those people that may have wronged him from their Jewishness, if that makes sense. I just, you know, but Nick Fuentes, very actively anti-Semitic. I wonder if Mike Pence is referring to... Is he referring to Kanye or Nick Fuentes? I feel like it has to be Nick Fuentes, right?
Canceled like Alex Jones. I started getting in contact with other people that were now on the, you know, the inside of the matrix. And Alex Jones, producer, said that Milo wanted to contact me. And
so I'm just quickly reading through like the Hill thing that says here. So at the bottom, it says that I think as Mike Pence is saying about Donald Trump, the president demonstrated profoundly poor judgment in giving those individuals a seat at the table. And as I said, I think he should apologize for it. I don't know if I don't know if Mike Pence was explicit about who he's referring to. Okay.
Here we are.
So that's how you...
I feel like it's probably Nick Fuentes, though. I don't think that's an unreasonable assumption, but maybe he's referring to Kanye as well. I guess we don't know.
guys got in contact?
Yeah, originally, and then I suggested that we bring in Nicholas as a enormous extra brain firepower that he is.
Oh, I mean, if you recommend to bring Nicholas Fuentes in some kind of capacity like that, like, you're obviously a dumb fuck. I'm not trying to be rude, but like, so Milo Yiannopoulos, my first true understanding of the guy is that he thinks Nick Fuentes is like a good person. Like, no, like, profoundly poor judgment on that one. Like, holy Jesus, man. How?
Most extraordinarily brilliant political commentator of his generation, and
Okay. He's a
treated just
Messiah.
about as badly as anybody. So I thought he deserves to be in the room too.
He's not being
And,
treated poorly.
Yeah, that's pretty much how we
He's being pretty treated. He's being treated pretty well, all things considered, in my opinion.
got together.
So I have some questions about that, but we'll get through the dinner portion of how exactly this happened, what went down. So this is how you get in contact, the three of you. How is it that Nick ends up invited to this dinner, and what happened?
Well, he was rolling with me. I was impressed with Nick, and I was like, just come to the dinner.
Idiot.
And we had Karen Giorno pick us up from the airport. And there was a lot of back and forth. There's another gentleman named Jamar Montgomery that was with us. He's an engineer at Boeing, and who's it?
I'm telling him we should raise everyone's volume.
Okay, cool. And we sat there, and it was like when Trump came in, I said, do you want to sit alone? He's like, no, bring your friends in. So a big thing is like Trump had no idea who Nick Fuentes was. But this whole, I just got to go
fair.
right to the heart.
So Kanye just kind of brought him in, and Donald Trump's like, sure, I guess. There's no way this guy could be that bad. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that. Okay.
Part of this anti-Semite claim that's happening. This is something, if you read the definition, it says you can't claim that there's multiple people inside of banks or in media that are all Jewish or you're anti-Semitic.
Definition.
And that's the truth. Like,
so, okay, when it comes to anti-Semitism, I think we're kind of at this point where people could be getting a little bit frustrated with the conversation centralizing or with this conversation. And I think it's time that we have it in a reasonable way. First and foremost, I've never heard a single person ever talk about disproportionate representation of Jewish people in positions of power. I've never heard anybody who wasn't anti-Semitic talk about it. Most people who talk about it or question, like Nick Fuentes, are very explicitly trying to engage in the same rhetoric that led to the Holocaust. That being said, there's still a conversation to have, and we're not having it. And I think it makes people frustrated and it makes them feel a little bit repressed. There is misrepresentation. There are a lot of Jewish people in positions of power in a disproportionate way. And now the question is, why? Right? Is it because they're greedy pieces of shit? Or does it have to do with a bunch of complex factors? I can't give you the explicit answer, but I feel like there's a lot of things. First of all, my understanding is back in the day, Jewish people used to be bankers because working with money was considered dirty, I think in like the Roman era, during the Roman era, right? And they were able to generate wealth through that capacity, but not because they really wanted to. But there's also cultural aspects. Jewish people can be very, culturally strong. And they also happen to be, at least in America, a lot of them happen to be very white. And they were able to take advantage, like other white people did, of racism. Unfortunately, Jewish people are just as flawed as everybody else. And so these culmination and series of events have led Jewish people to seemingly be disproportionately overly represented in positions of power. I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with Jewish people. I will say I find it very interesting, though, that Nick Fuentes, generally looks down on black and Hispanic people because he thinks that they're biologically less than because their IQs are lower, and doesn't acknowledge like systemic issues from the past. And so he thinks that they're inferior. But when it comes to Jewish people, despite the fact that they seem to be overperforming, somehow he also doesn't think that that's a good thing, right? Wouldn't you? If you don't like people for underperforming, why would you like people who are performing better than you? So yeah, man, I think it's complicated. There's obviously more than than I even know about this topic. Maybe we should try to like look into a stream or look into some kind of resource to get more knowledgeable on this. But it's more complicated. There's no deep-seated Jewish cabal that's trying to fucking dominate the world, which is the undertone of a lot of the conversation that comes out of someone like Nick Fuentes' mouth. And it's harmful, and we've seen a Holocaust. I don't think we want to see another one. So,
it's the truth. What are we talking about? And
elaborate. What do you mean? You mean?
I'm saying like I've been labeled anti-Semite, right? So there's different beliefs about our bloodlines, like the documentary that.
Let me be explicitly clear. Bloodlines are irrelevant. It doesn't matter. This is the same thing as if I said I can run around screaming the hard R because you can trace my bloodline back to fucking Africa. It doesn't matter. Like, we're not 1,000 generations ago, right? We are in a lot of cases like what we are now. Kanye West is a black guy. I'm a white guy. I do happen to be ethnically Jewish to some degree. I'm not religiously Jewish, right? But for him to say like, well, I'm Jewish. No, you're not, because if there was a Holocaust, you wouldn't be Holocausted because of your connection to being Jewish. Just like if there was some kind of a black Holocaust, I guess I could say again because slavery was something else, huh? I wouldn't be enslaved. It's just I think it's an unintelligent way to try to align yourself. It's the same thing as like white people who are like, I could say the N-word because my fucking grandfather is half black. You know what I mean? It's just like, no, it's not an excuse.
Kyrie posted, and in general, America has been left ignorant and history has been changed. So when we start questioning things that question the indoctrination, then you immediately get,
who's breathing so
you
heavily?
said debanked, or what did you say happened to you, or
Demonetized, deplatformed.
Demonized, demonetized. And what's so beautiful about this time is everyone got to see what's really been happening. And
well, what happened to Kanye? Did he get locked? I think he might have got locked out of a bank. I don't remember the specifics. I know that he lost a lot of his brand deals. But okay.
now we can really understand. We can see that Ron Emanuel was right next to Obama, and then Jared Kushner was right next to Trump.
But
So somebody had said, what about the genocide in Africa? African Americans aren't the only black people on the planet. You're right. I just need you to understand that I'm limited. I'm an American. So like a lot of the things I'm going to talk about are from like an American perspective where I have like a better understanding of. I don't have the best understanding of everything. Right? I'm obviously not black, so I can't identify. But like it's difficult for me to have conversations about something that happened in Africa. I understand that like a lot of colonization and colonialism has taken a lot of resources from black people in Africa. I understand that, but not nearly as well as, slavery or forms of systemic racism in America. You know what I mean?
so we're getting right into it.
Understand. We can see that Ron Emanuel was right next to Obama, and then Jared Kushner was right next to Trump.
But so we're getting right into it, I guess, right? I was hoping to go for the news first before we got into all of this stuff. I think the issue is one way to put it is you're expounding upon a localization issue that you've witnessed, right? Let me clarify. There are a handful of people that you see are Jewish in a certain place, and then you associate Judaism with the power, whereas I view that as not relevant to it. Like, yeah, you're substantially more powerful than I am, but I don't view what you're doing as an issue of black people.
It's a fair way to put that. Okay, I can respect that take from Tim.
Yeah, but have you ever heard the term the black vote? So it's okay to put us in one net, but it's not okay for me to put them in one net.
That's also fair. But again, we need to question the motivation of the net. From what I've seen of Kanye, it doesn't seem to be like a nuanced conversation about, Jewish people in positions of power. It seems to be more of a frustration associated with potential Jewish people in his own life that he feels have wronged him. And so that's a different thing, right? It would be the same thing as if I got beat up by a bunch of black people one time and I started to say like, these fucking black people are always beating people up, right? It's ignorant, right? That's different from having a nuanced conversation like, oh, why do black people disproportionately cause crime? And we know that the answer is overwhelmingly systemic racism, like negative impacts from the past, right? So there's the difference between these two.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's the basis of the hypocrisy that people have been thinking about and knowing about and realizing for decades. We were all wondering how this dam was going to break. Everybody in the country was wondering what is this hypocrisy? Why can people talk about white people a certain way? Why can't they talk about that group a certain way? And the wretched and wicked and oppressive prevailing orthodoxy of cancel culture. Well, it turned out that the one thing that was going to break the dam was the biggest star in the world, and it took the biggest star in the world to do it. And
I could see why Kanye surrounds himself with this person. He really talks to about him like he's a fucking messiah. Wow, we're I'm not trying to be exaggeratory, but this feels like a very dangerous time that we're in for somebody who is very ignorant, like Kanye West, who doesn't understand how to properly articulate how he's feeling and is not doing it in a reasonable or sensitive way, to have his perspective weaponized by very methodical, poorly intentioned, and intelligent people that are very malicious in intent, from what I see. So,
and now the dam is broken.
So let me tell you my issue. I don't like identitarianism. You guys are familiar with what that is?
Well, they started it, and they've been visiting on us. We're trying to break it.
When I was asking you about running for president, you immediately said, well, you'd be good for the black vote. And I said, is that because I'm black? No, not just because of that. So is that, are you doing the same thing?
Well, yeah, you would be. I mean, that is true, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people, that's kind of like across the board. You know, like if you have like a fucking like a Catholic person, or like a Muslim person, let's say, run for president, it's like, yeah, you'll be good for the Muslim vote. Like, of course they're gonna feel represented. Like, that's just kind of normal, you know.
I didn't say that was the only reason. I said it was because you're personable to the common person, and you probably would do well with the black vote. Absolutely.
Just because I'm black, because a lot of black people don't like me.
Of course, I think race plays a role in a lot of things. Absolutely, and I think that
I think the construct of race has really been forced upon us as just something for us to be woke about and just constantly talk about and use it as these like walls.
But he's doing that with Jewish people, so how is he going to leverage this criticism at anybody else?
Say the same thing about Judaism?
Well, let's look at the facts of what I'm saying, though. If you say in this neighborhood where they gerrymander, there's this amount of time. So, hey, I wasn't doing that. I was just gerrymandering the lawyers and the Hollywood executives and the people at the bank that debanked me and then froze my accounts. You know, it's like we want to jump into protecting the idea that we can't put a net around something, right? But that's been my job as a producer, to take, a Roy Ayers sample and put a James Brown drum and put it within a 2-minute, 3-minute song. That's the way I actually think, and that's the way I talk. And now this morning I found out that they were trying to put me in prison because what they did was I moved $140 million into JP Morgan. And I said, I want to talk to Jamie Dimon. Like, look at me, I'm just going in naive, multi-billionaire, like, maybe Jamie Dimon will let me in on some deal flow. Wrong. And I'm just like banging my hands like, I want to meet with Jamie. And I start complaining online, and then they debank me for complaining. And so I'm about to get debanked. They're like, you need to go to Trump's, the bank, AXO, whatever, you got to go. And I'm like, I've been trying to buy my own bank for the longest. And then we figured out how to get my own bank. It's like 50 million, 75 million. So I'm about to buy my own bank. But then as they're about to take
I guess at least he's taking matters into his own hands. If he's got an issue with the bank, he'll just buy his own bank. Okay, based, I guess. For
money out, here comes Adidas with a $275 million bill for marketing funds that they agreed upon. Because I said to them, hey, I'm the marketing, give me the marketing fund, which proves by the response they got when they, stole the designs and said, we're going to not call them Yeezys anymore. So this is what I was already fighting Adidas for. So I'm fighting Gap, get out of Gap, fighting Adidas. Okay. And then I deal with this little bit of noise from, Zionism from the fashion world, where they use this plant named Gabby, who's obviously
Zionism. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Like some kind of CIA agent, knows nothing about fashion. I want to get on like LeBron in a second, but I'm going to come back to this and just talk about this morning where, I'm not going to mention her name because she's a nice lady, but someone at Cohen Resnick tells me, and I tell all of my finance people, never use the term a lot, but they said, okay, you're going to have to pay a lot of taxes. And that made me feel like they're just like waiting, like we finally got him. We finally can put him in jail. And I was like, can I still run for president in jail? I found out I could. So I was like, okay, that's fine then. It'll be okay.
But if you were Jeffrey Epstein, they wouldn't touch your bank account. They would allow you to break the rules, regulations, just like JP Morgan and Chase did, just like Deutsche Bank did. So there is an issue to bring up with that. But when it comes to the...
Well, so listen, I'm not defending Epstein because he was a scumfuck, but I think the issue there is that it was never publicized. It never came out. Right. And so that's why they wouldn't touch any of his things. I imagine maybe they probably would have if they had known about everything, I guess. It's a very well-kept conspiracy, but
race stuff. I think this is an important discussion to have because
I have to complete this thought. You guys got to.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, because I'm talking about literally finding out that they were trying to put me in prison this morning. Watch this. So
this morning.
Yes. So not come to my house this morning, but I found out. Okay, so they put a $75 million hold on 4 of my accounts, and then they said you owe a lot of taxes.
The news. Yeah, fair enough. Good point, I suppose. I imagine it's because of his celebrity status. I mean, I guess it's a good point then. Sure. I mean, okay. I suppose it's a good point then. They should have froze his. But then I guess the question is like, should they freeze Kanye West? I mean, I guess I don't really think that they should freeze his money. So I do think he's incredibly dangerous with this rhetoric, though. I'll say that much.
Tax evasion, because I'm obviously not the most financially literate person on the planet. I was just a child, basically. Like, when you become famous, you stop growing at that point. I became famous at age 24, and I had handlers around. I had my mom around, different things.
Well,
and it was always like you go from one handler to the next.
Hey, at least he's self-aware that he stopped maturing.
Next handler to the next handler. So now I'm having, I get to actually learn how to run a company. I get to learn how to, to count. Really, I was like Pablo in a movie. It was like I didn't even know where to put the money. Like, literally making $300 million cash, but you're just like a high-priced.
See, Kanye, if you didn't piss off all the Jews, then you would have been able to just hire them to count all your money for you. You didn't really think that one through, bro. Come on, man. You got to be smarter than that.
We're not going to use the S word just because it's like too passe to use it. But it's like next year I was supposed to make $500 million in royalties, and like no one needs this amount of money. But when I would work on homeless shelters and ideas, I'd have a contractor, we won't say what race, and
jeez, God.
but
obvious
they'd be tearing down the contracts. It's all about position. It's not
considering what he's saying. I guess they're Jewish. Like, honey, just why? Like, not to be an asshole, not to advocate for this, but why don't you just not hire Jewish people then? Like, I find it really interesting that Kanye is constantly being like, he's being anti-Semitic, and he's talking about like, oh, well, this person was Jewish. Oh, well, this person is Jewish, and this person is Jewish. So then why do you keep hiring? If you don't like Jewish people, Kanye, then why do you keep hiring Jewish people? I don't understand it. It's a bizarre thing. Like, why are you? You shouldn't not be hiring somebody because of their ethnicity or their religion or anything like that. But like, if you hate Jewish people so much, then why do you keep hiring Jewish people? It doesn't add up to me. I don't understand. How can you complain about Jewish people and then like, why don't you hire somebody who's just as good that's fucking black or something? If because I've heard him talk about issues of systemic racism and black people not getting a good shake. So instead of hiring a bunch of Jewish people, why don't you hire a black person? I don't understand. It doesn't really add up to me. It just doesn't make any sense.
Not about the amount of money that you have. And, to come in here, I feel like it's a setup to be like defending. I'm not going to go through another, like, I'm literally going to walk the F off the show if I'm sitting up here having to, talk about, you can't say that it was Jewish people that did it, when every sensible person knows that. I mean, Jon Stewart knows what happened to me, and they took it too far. It was like American History X. Like, my head was on the side of the curve, and the exact people that I called out kicked my head. We found out that my trainer was a MK Ultra Canadian intelligence.
He worked in the defense research and development in the Canadian military, essentially working on PSYOPs in the Canadian military. This is Harley Pasternak.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, look, they tried to medicate me. I was exhausted. They wrongly diagnosed me. And they when I asked them, how much lithium did you want to put me on exactly? It took them.
I think I might watch Jon Stewart's perspective on this topic. It's just relatively quick after this segment.
4 days to answer because they were embarrassed about the amount, right? And I refused to take this, right? You understand that if I had taken the medication, I would not be here, and it would have been, oh, he was deeply troubled. We miss him. We love his music, though.
Well, they would have Britney Spears you. I mean, look at.
Jesus Christ. Okay. So, like, first of all, he didn't take his medication. If he took his medication, he might just be balanced right now and regular and not be going through so much fucking mental anguish. But he's got this entire conspiracy in his head that they were trying to like put him in a situation where they're going to overdose him. Which I just don't think is true. I mean, if they wanted to do that, if they have so much control, why wouldn't they just do it? It doesn't really make any sense. And of course, Milo's like, they're gonna do a conservatorship for you, Kanye. They're gonna do a conservatorship for you. Okay. I mean, fuck. This guy's really manipulative. This fucking Milo Yiannopoulos person.
They would have Michael Jackson.
Or worse, yeah.
So
I guess what they did to Britney. When she went in, she was tired, she was exhausted, she was in a bad way. But 10 years of that medication wrecked her brain. You can see it now. You can see there's not much of her left.
I don't think that medication wrecked Britney Spears. I think it's a little more complicated. I also don't think you care about Britney Spears. I think you're gonna just bring it up as like a virtue signal. Britney Spears got fucked over, not because of medication. If you look at her like trajectory, I remember I watched like a documentary on Britney Spears. It was insane. Britney Spears started out very young. Like Kanye said, you kind of stop, like Kanye literally admits, you kind of stop maturing when you get famous. And she was incredibly hypersexualized as a child, and a lot of the things that were going on with her were publicized in a very unflattering way. They would constantly make sexual comments about her. There was like a talk show host who like touched her in like on stage in a sexual way when she was like 15 or some shit. And then when she broke up with like Justin Timberlake, they were speculating that she's like a shitty person. I was talking about a kid here. And then when she was going through a divorce, they were harassing her. The paparazzi were fucking rabid animals back then. They were absolutely rabid animals, and they would go and there'd be flocks of them. I remember I saw where she was just trying to leave her, she was in her car and she was just trying to leave. And they were surrounding her so much that she couldn't go, and she just wanted to go home. She was having a bad day. She was going through a nasty divorce. She had her kid with her, and like, so she drove off, and they're like, oh, well, she didn't handle her kid perfectly because she was trying to get away from people who are fucking psychopaths. Britney Spears is more than just, oh, she was on some medication. We know a lot of people who use medication very beneficially and very productively and in a very good way, right? So like this fucking weird manipulation from Milo Yiannopoulos is just really gross, bro. And it's really dangerous that they've gotten hold of Kanye in this way to be able to kind of like push him, steer his perspective in a certain direction, because he's not all there. Kanye is frustrated, but he's not particularly expressive or intelligent. I think that he's very malleable. I think that, like he said, he's always been used to having handlers. All it takes Kanye to do is get a handler that he semi-trusts, and boom, he's going to just kind of do whatever they say. I don't think that there's, especially as long as they can fucking like keep him happy. And all they have to do is keep like fueling his anti-Semitism, and boom, we're all set.
You mentioned Pasternak was the name?
Yes, Harley Pasternak. That's the text message that you posted that we were talking about before.
That's the lobotomist friend.
Yeah.
Before the show, obviously, I'm getting a bunch of messages from people. People are hitting me up, and they're like, you shouldn't host them. They're anti-Semitic. They're white supremacists. They're racist. I do find it funny or weird, whatever, that, Nick, they call you white supremacist. You're here working with or for, one of the most powerful black men, one of the wealthiest and most famous.
Yeah, of course, because he can kind of like, he can take advantage of that to push himself into a powerful position. That's the literal only reason why he's doing it. Again, the way he's talked about black people is as if they are dogs. That's obviously racist. Suggest that it's insane that Nick Fuentes would try to take advantage of Kanye West to get into a position of power. To not think that that's possible is just one of the dumbest fucking things in the entire world. This guy literally thinks fucking black people is just as disgusting as fucking dogs.
A lot of people were saying on the right specifically, don't platform them. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I want to understand what they're thinking and why they're thinking it. They're involved in what may be the biggest news story of the past week, and we have an opportunity to sit down and talk.
Because the red media controls both sides. It just said it as simple as possible. Jared Kushner was next to Trump. Ron Emanuel was next to Obama. But see, since 1940, go ahead.
I was gonna say, isn't that an issue of these individuals? Like you're extrapolating. I'm going to order. With the last of my money that's available in a different account, I'm going to order a PJ before I sit and have another Lex Friedman setup conversation. When I'm literally they're trying to put me in jail for my opinion. But I'm not
going to have that opinion. I don't care about people. Those are bots that are.
Another Lex Friedman conversation. Wow, how disappointing. The only I thought that a lot of progress had been made on the Lex Friedman conversation. That's so disappointing. What happened? What happened there? It was a really good conversation that he had with Lex. Why does he? And I feel like Kanye enjoyed it. Why does he feel that way now? All of a sudden, I feel like these guys are getting in his head. Wow. That's something else, man. That's very unfortunate. Okay.
Trying to tell you, we realize, look at Pence. He sold Trump out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I would have never.
No, he didn't. In that article, Pence says, I don't think that Donald Trump is anti-Semitic, but I think he should apologize for, hosting people who are. That's what he said. Now, you could disagree with that, but that's not selling anybody out. That's asking for an apology and opening a pathway to, I guess you'd say forgiveness. That's not cancel culture. That's just saying you should apologize for this because it was irresponsible. It's not selling anybody out.
Wanted to do anything that hurt Trump. I'm on Trump's side. Trump said things that hurt me. He lied about me, but I mean, he's known for lying. And when people used to tell me that, he's a liar, it's like, I went into the trenches for Trump. That's another conversation. There was no one in my position that wore that hat, and all of my surroundings exhausted me. It was like death by 1,000 questions. I know I'm jumping to another thing, but what I'm saying is, I know you got a rep for your people online, but it's you got a person in real life that I'm not with it, bro. I lost the money for the freedom of speech, and that's what makes me the only American that we know that really deserves to run the country, because everyone else, your boy DeSantis, Trump, whoever they raise in a petri dish over on the Democrat side, is going to play the game.
Look,
and,
here's what I was trying to get to. You went right into the anti-Semite thing. I think it's something that should be talked about. But if you start bringing this up, you're going to ask my opinion on it. I'm going to disagree with you.
I didn't ask your opinion on it. You jumped into it.
But
I don't care about your opinion. I like your opinion on how we win an election, but I don't care about anybody's opinion, bro. I lost. They tried to put me in jail. They blocked two.
Dude, I think at the point where he's like, I don't care about anybody's opinion anymore. I mean, we're at that point where, like, what's the point in engaging with Kanye anymore? I get that he's been hurt. I do get it. But if you're at a point where you're not willing to listen to anybody, there's no point. There's no real point in engaging with Kanye. I don't think that there's a point in doing a whole lot of coverage of Kanye West. I think that Kanye might represent some Americans, if I'm being generous, that are feeling frustrated with the way the society is going. And I think that some of those people are just looking for an answer. And sometimes some people are thinking that the answer is to be hateful towards Jewish people. Some people think that the answer is to be hateful towards black people. Some people think that the answer is to be hateful towards immigrants. Some people think that the answer is to be hateful towards white people. These people are all incorrect. The reality is, and I do believe this, is that to an extent, whether it's active or passive, we're being pit against each other by an upper class of people who are frustrating us. People who are monetarily oppressing us. Because there's really, I would say, no power greater than money. And it's difficult for any group of people to make significant change without access to money. But there's such a disparity between the rich and the poor and the middle class that it's, I would say, oppressive for all of us to exist every day. And some people are obviously better off than others. I can't complain too much anymore. I used to work like a dog for terrible wages, paying $100 a week in health care. It was miserable, and it made me want to take my own life. I, of course, never would, but I think that a lot of us have that intrusive thought because of that. And it's like, why black people? Why Hispanic people? Why white people? Why Jewish people? Why not the people who are preventing us from, or making it very difficult for us to succeed? And I think that that's what we have to kind of galvanize around. Not anti-Semitism, not racism, not bigotry, not the LGBTQ community. Like, maybe we should just start having the conversation about the people who truly are ruling us, right? In some capacity. And they're not Jewish, they're not black, they're not white, they're rich. And we're poor. You know? So.
$2 billion I had, like what I told Farrakhan, I said, look, is it anti-Semitic for me to say his name out loud? Like, I told
minister.
Yeah, the minister. Like, I told
Obama met with him too.
Oh, he was, yeah, I mean, the Jewish people allowed Obama to meet with the minister, so.
Yeah, Kanye is part of that class. Kanye is a person. Kanye is that person. Kanye is part of that ruling class. Kanye is the one with all this money that can make profound amounts of change, and he just does it. Instead, he uses his platform like this. Isn't that embarrassing? It is, really.
Farrakhan said, well, did he have the money? The contract for the next 4 years, if I hadn't done anything, would have been $500 million a year for 4 years. What I was fighting for was the IP, so my children could, I'm sorry, sometimes I think about 7 thoughts at one time, because anything I see, I come up with like 7 answers to it and then just choose what it is. But But the thing is, when I said my children, the reason why my brain kind of blocked, because it's like God is saying, you know, your children are going to be okay. You know, baby mama's got money, right? God is using me. He's breaking me down, removing all of the, you know, richest person, all of this, so I can serve him. And the more and more those things are taken away from me, the more I can be empty and be a vessel and be able to be used. And right now it's like, you're not going to take, if we can't, you're not going to take my pain away, right? The Jewish people say, it's the Holocaust, this happened, and you can't say anything about it. We can't take their pain away. No one's going to denounce the fact that they tried to lock me up. That's what, because every time I'm just holding stride, and it's like, I thought I was more Malcolm X.
When the fuck they try to lock him up?
But I find out I'm more MLK, because as I'm getting hosed down every day by the press and financially, I'm just standing there. And when I found out that they tried to put me in jail, it was like a dog was biting.
He keeps saying they try to put him in jail. What's his like proof? Like, what is he talking about? Like, can you give us a little more than just saying that? Like, what's the story? He never finished his story.
Biting my arm, and I almost shed a tear, almost, but I still walked in stride through it. Yeah.
I think they've been extremely unfair to you.
Who is they though? We can't say they is, can we?
Press. I'm not using I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking.
It is
about
them though, isn't it? I mean, because because when you think about it, consider it. In 2018.
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean? Like, okay, so how about? Are you leaving?
Are you afraid of the press?
He's gone. I'll say it right now. You guys want to bring that stuff up? And then
have
think
the
we're not going to have a conversation?
Like, have the discussion.
Like you think he's going to come in here and say, here's my pain, here's my suffering. I'm going to say, I hear you. And then he's going to say, and it was Jewish people. And I'm going to be like, okay, but don't you consider, like, I'm not going to do this. I refuse.
Make sure he's cool.
All right, go for it. Luke and I will have a conversation. So I can't say I'm surprised. What do I even do? Other than ask him, please elaborate on this. Are you referring to individuals, or are you quite literally blaming an entire group of people for the fact that powerful individuals are causing you harm?
I really wanted to ask Nick about his thoughts about MLK, because I know they contradict his comments about that. But again, these are mass generalizations that don't really help anyone in my perspective. They just kind of sound like their opposition. They sound what they're kind of going against, the woke mob that's always saying white men are responsible for everything. When I see people just use generalizations, it kind of cheapens the conversations. It cheapens a dialogue that we could have here that I was planning to talk to Ye about, specifically bringing up, like, hey, let's actually talk about this in a real concise way. Let's not get emotional. Let's not walk out of here.
Let me tell all you guys outright. I said this is going to be a big issue before the show. Obviously, people are going to bring up the questions of anti-Semitism. Why don't we talk about the news? I want to hear what happened with this meeting. I want to understand what Ye 24 is, and then we can do a longer conversation about any of that stuff. And Ye literally in the first 5 minutes says, no, I want to talk about a group of people and point to them. Whatever, man. You want to know why? Look, you're not going to sit here and you're going to walk out of the room. You're free to do so, man. But literally, I said a couple sentences about, I don't think that's fair. Did I insult the man? He seriously can't handle. He can't handle it.
He also left during the Piers Morgan interview he did, but he came back. So again, we should be able to have this conversation. What's up, Chris? Yeah.
Look, man, I wanted to talk to these guys about why they're meeting with Trump.
Chris.
I want to know what happened with the dinner, because we hear a lot of rumors about it.
I want to hear about their 2024 platform, which they were promising, which they were talking about, like they're going to be officially.
Let me explain to everybody.
So, this is a good thing that happened here. It's a good thing that, first of all, I respect Tim Pool for respectfully pushing the issue and not letting Kanye get away with just spewing anti-Semitism. Second of all, I think that Tim Pool, as much as some people may hate Tim Pool, and all the criticism you can leverage against him, is a guy that's respected a lot by a lot of conservatives because he feels like he gives them a platform to, talk their shit. And here he pushed back, and this is absolutely, and go in a good way, is going to fracture a lot of Ye's following. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I'm happy that this happened, to be honest with you. I'm happy with that. That's happened.
Gypsy became a member.
Hey, thank you so much for the membership. The medium gut. Thank you, brother.
Clowny super chatted $9.62.
Thank you so much, man.
Not sure what to write here.
Well, thank you so much for the donation. I don't know. I'm not sure either. It is interesting though that I wonder if Kanye would be okay with lumping all black people together. If I proposed like a black murderer, would it be okay to, suggest that all black people are murderers because of one black murder, or a group of them, just like he does with Jewish people? Okay, well, that's all I really want to watch with that. Frankly, I don't really care to listen to them talk for another 2 hours about how frustrated they were with Kanye. I understand, but that's all I really wanted to watch with that.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.